Welcome everyone. It's been a bit of a while since I've done a getting started with a video. They do seem to be very popular though, and the guys from One Page Rules have kindly asked me to do one for their great set of games. Since it's requested, I'm going to be covering everything in one long video with chapters. First, I'll go over what One Page Rules is and the games they cover. Then I'll take you through their Patreon and miniatures before showing you how to create an army list to play, and lastly showing you a quick demo game for Age of Fantasy to show you the flavour of how it plays. I already have a very popular in-depth how to play video for Grimdark Future on the channel, linked up the top and in the description. That one is what you need to watch if you're new to the game and want an in-depth how to actually play, but please skip to the relevant areas that appeal to you for this one if you want to know how to get started, and let's get on with it. So we'll start with what is One Page Rules. Well, it's a collection of alternative games in the sci-fi or fantasy sphere, made to simplify rules down to just one page, so printing them off is real easy. There's no carrying around large rulebooks, there's not much to get wrong, but mainly they are just fun games that exist for you to jump into easily and actually play more, because I'm sure many of us don't do enough of that. With the best part being the price. Free for everyone. And yes, there's no story or fluff, it's just straight rules. The only part of 40k I was ever interested in anyway. Boy, how I wish these games existed when I started in 96, would have saved me a fortune in rulebooks and army books. But the main games they have rules for are Grimdark Future, a variation of 40k that has been way more streamlined into something akin to my favourite, 3rd edition, only with more modern army books, which are again all free to download and updated regularly. Age of Fantasy is a variation of Age of Sigmar with Age of Fantasy regiments, providing a very streamlined rank and file version of 8th edition Warhammer Fantasy. Age of Fantasy Skirmish and Grimdark Future Firefight are small-scale skirmish games in the vein of Kill Team or Warcry. And lastly, Warfleet's FTL is a variant of Battlefleet Gothic, though I can't comment on this game at all, as I never even played old Battlefleet Gothic. All of the games are streamlined to fit on one page, there's very little keywords needed, and they play anything from half an hour and up, depending on the size of the armies you play. For me, something like Grimdark Future is something akin to 3rd edition 40k because of the size of the games at 1500 points, which was the average game at the time. For Space Marines, you usually get a captain, 2 tac squads, a dread, and some terminators or bikes. The points are all accumulated on a calculator, which is given to you when you join the Patreon. So everything is pretty much balanced all across the board and fair, because they don't have new models to sell or any army books. Everything is free, so all units tend to cost a lot more than the GW equivalents. Basically, a 2k game of 40k as it is now is around about 4 to 5k points in Grimdark Future. Talking of the Patreon though, on the One Page Rules website you can access the Patreon content. For £4 a month, you get given all 6 of the full-sized rulebooks for their main games. These are 20 to 30 pages long and include pictures like an old GW book, which should help you with rules queries and situations that might pop up in game that aren't addressed in the basic one-page free rules. You also get 4 special missions a month on top of the extra missions, ways to earn more points in game, and how to play Apocalypse style games. The main rulebooks do add a lot extra that is worth the money, but you also get access to 1 early access game, 4 paper miniature sets, 3 paper terrain sets, access to the point calculators, which should be great ways to bring your own custom units into the game, and apparently access to Discord, which I'll be honest, I have no idea what that is. For £8 a month, you get access to everything in the £4 tier, but now you also get STL files for your 3D printer. As of this recording, you get access to minis like 12 mummified undead, 8 robot legions, 4 marauder fleets, 25 sci-fi and fantasy starter set models, over 100 bases, game aids, along with a 70% discount code for use on their My Mini Factory website, where you would be able to buy all the previous STL files they have produced. I was offered some minis to review, but I don't have access to a 3D printer and can't use one in my house safely. But you don't half get jealous of seeing everyone else printing stuff off. Either way, there's plenty channels showing off the quality of their STL model files. I do like the Tomb King stuff myself, so check out their Patreon or My Mini Factory website that I've linked below in the description. But now we're going to move on to list building. If you go to the Army Books section of the Grimdark Future or Age of Fantasy part of the website, you will see a wide range of free-to-download Army books. In Grimdark Future, there are 27 different factions alone, which you can craft lists for to play. Most of them are variations on 40k armies, like Prime Brothers being Primaris Space Marines or Robot Legions being Necrons, but there are also custom ones like Dwarf Guilds to represent squats or Ratman clans to give you Skaven in space. There's something for everyone really, as this is a model agnostic game, so you don't just have to buy GW models to play your World's an oyster, and suddenly you can buy that 20 quid Stargrave Trooper box to build a squad of 20 guardsmen for good quality on the cheap. I personally love games that let you use models from anywhere, and with 3D printing being all the rage, suddenly you could print off an army for this game system for next to nothing really, using STL files from various creators. If we look at the Prime Brothers list though, for instance, you'll notice that even with name changes, all the current range are here. The captain is basically a captain, Judge is the guy with the huge sword, Prime Brothers are intercessors, infiltration squads are reavers, aggro squads are aggressors, blaster squads are hellblasters. It's not hard to look at the model count, be it single, 3 or 5, next to the name, along with the equipment to work out what each unit represents for the Primaris. With the upgrade box stating which of the lettered boxes below upgrade some units to represent others that at first might not be here, like Prime Brothers being able to upgrade to Grave Armour to give them Tough 3, which is 3 wounds each, and making them heavy intercessors. An expensive but good looking set of minis, but all of a sudden a squad of 5 heavy intercessors cost 515 points. A squad which, according to Reddit, cost 190 points in 40k. Now do you see the point comparison that I talked about earlier? Anyway, you have your models, you've chosen your list, now let's talk army composition, because there basically is none. The game is more streamlined and more casual in terms of you just being able to play whatever you want. You don't have to go 1 captain and 2-3 troops. You could just bring an army of tanks or an army of dreadnoughts, want a last gasp hold of captainless marines defending a gun line against a Tyranid invasion. Go for it. This is what the game excels at. You can take as much or as little as you want. Do you want 3 captains with each troop squad to provide buffs? Go ahead, you do you, have fun. All you have to do is choose a point cost, 1500, 1850, 2000, 3000, put the models you've got down on the table and see if you can get them to fit in a list which comes at the point cost or just under. For instance, my Prime Brothers 1500 point list consists of a Prime Captain with Energy Fist and Plasma Pistol. I have another Prime Captain, which is basically a Lieutenant, Psychic with Sword and Psychic 2, 2 5-man Prime Brothers squads, 1 5-man Blaster squad, and an Aggro squad with Grenade Launchers and Fist Carbines for some rapid fire shooting. That comes to just over 1400 points, so you just add whatever upgrade you want, and you have a very decent starter army for Grimdark Future, which you could no doubt build and paint from a combat squad or start collecting box. So even the price wouldn't be that bad to buy everything from either. The only thing it lacks is some heavy hitting power in melee, so you'd have to be creative tactically, maybe sticking to cover and choosing your engagements each activation. Also, if you wanted to make a 10-man squad of intercessors, for instance, you can pull 2 of the exact same units together to make one big one. So 2 5-man intercessor squads who have, say, auto bolt rifles can be made into one 10-man squad. But that's all there is really to the list building process. Choose an army list for your models to represent them on field, and then see what you have and choose the relevant upgrades and units appropriately. Now, in terms of crafting your list, I don't believe there is an online builder like Battlescribe which is kept up to date with all the lists. Not one that I've found anyway. So often you have to write them out yourselves on paper using a pen like the good old days, or you could just use Excel. That's what I've been using before. I just make my columns to fit the information you need and then print them off. Warlock's Armory, the most prevalent YouTuber for one-page rules, has an army list on his channel for use in Microsoft Word. I don't have access to Word or Excel outside of the free online versions, so I've discovered that it's not the greatest for myself. It would probably be better on an official version of Word, but that's probably the best army crafting sheet you could find for free outside of making your own. And if you're into one-page rules, you should really be checking Warlock's out anyway, as he does a lot to showcase the quality of this game way more than myself. Anyway, let's finally get on to the demo game. Hey everyone, it's now time for our demo game portion of the video. So please treat this as if you were going into a store and they were going to basically show you a basic demo game to get the flavour of how the game plays. Do not treat this like a full-on how to play video. I have that, as I've said multiple times now, linked in the description below. It's the second best video on my channel, and it is a how to play video for Grimdark Future. Spent a lot of time on that last year. It's got nearly 10k views. You've probably seen it already if you're interested in this, but if you want a recap of a full-on how to play video, please watch that. This is just a demo game to show you the basics of how the game plays. These forces are not points efficient, so I've just grabbed whatever I've got from my cabinet that I thought would be interesting. We obviously have, for the Eternal Wardens, and this is great, a sheet here, and the whole idea, one-page rules, why I love it so much is you can have the ogres on the back. Special rules, all you need, wizard spells, everything. This is just great, love it. But I have a Eternal Lord on a Great Drake with a hammer, which is basically classed as a great weapon. Then we have a Retribution Squad, just 3 man, Castigation Squad, just 3 man, and a Liberation Squad, which is 6 man. For the Ogres, we have a War Chief with a great weapon, 3 Iron Warriors, 3 Shooters, and 3 Beast Riders with great weapons. So we should be able to see everything in this game, basically how you move, how you activate, and then we'll have some high-powered weapons. We should also have some cavalry, shock attacks. We should have some shooting. Overall, I'm just going to have a bit of fun because I haven't played this game in a while. And I hope you enjoy it too. And find the flavour of how this game plays and why a lot of people are now getting into it. With all the army books for free, updated regularly, and the core rules being on one page, with all the special rules as well. Let's get in and fight. So this is our general setup for the game. You would, at this stage, go through all the preparation stage, which is setting up the terrain, making sure you got the armies, all points efficient, which I haven't. You combine units if you want, then you place mission objectives. We're not doing that, we're just going to charge down and just kill each other. And then you have the deployment. I have gone for 6 inches from the table edge instead of 12, because I'm not playing on a 6x4 board. I'm basically playing on a 5x3 table. So that's it basically, and then you just start the game. But here's general setup. So we've got a bit of shooting in the middle either side. Then we've got the cavalry over here, their main force here. We have the general and this unit basically all together, get him in shot there. And so yeah, we're just going to charge everything up and see what happens. We would have done this before setup, but we are going to roll off to see who is going to activate first. I'm going to use the red for the ogres, and so the green is for the stormcast basically. Hopefully you can see that, but it's a 4 for the ogres, a 2 for the stormcast, and the ogres get to activate first. When you pick a unit to activate, which I'm going to pick these here, you can hold, advance, rush, or charge. Now I am just going to rush, which means we move 12 inches but can't shoot. So what we do is we measure 12 inches and we just move them on up. And because the warlord is attached to this unit, basically classes as 1. And so, just like that, basically, they have moved up 12 inches. Once the unit's activated, sometimes it's best to place a marker of some type to mark off the fact that that unit has already activated, so that you don't forget and your opponent doesn't either. Just placing it near the unit is sufficient enough. After you have activated your first unit, your opponent then gets to activate one of their choosing. And there's no rules for pre-measuring, so you can do whatever you like. As far as I know I haven't properly read through the official big rule book that you have to go on Patreon for. I find the core rules sufficient enough. And so you can pre-measure, but once you have activated a unit, that is basically it. So I'm going to pre-measure with the crossbowmen, or the archers as they are, and see if they are within 18 inches of this unit to shoot. They are, and to measure in here, you just measure the closest unit to the closest unit, and if it is within range, then they all get to shoot. That's what's brilliant about it. So we've placed our activation marker on that. Then you check your sheet. We are looking at the Aether crossbows, so the castigation squad. They have attacks 1 with AP 2, 18 inches. So they basically get 1 roll each, and they have armor piercing 2 on each one. Then we look at their quality, 3+, so they need to roll 3 pluses on their dice. So it's 3 dice, and we need 3+ to roll. We've rolled a 6, a 5, and a 3, so all 3 of them hit. So because we have 3 hits, we then look at the defense of the Iron Warriors, and we see it's a 3+. So because of the armor penetration 2, that gets bumped up to a 5+ for the saves. And you could take it on the War Chief if you want, but that's what he's in that unit for protection. And the Iron Warriors are tough 3. And they have stone bones. So tough 3 means they have 3 wounds. And stone bones attacks targeting this model count as having AP -1. Ooh, that's interesting. So basically only 2 shots have gone through, because you have to +1 onto that 3 there. They needed 3+, so it would have been 4+. So yeah, only 2 defense rolls needed of 5+. So we take the 2 dice. We roll a 3 and a 2, so 2 wounds have gone through. They have 3 wounds each. So one of the warriors there is down to 1 wound, and we mark that off with a little dice. Dice marked, so he's down to 1 wound, and we're going to activate a next unit because it's now the ogre's turn again, and we're going to activate these guys right here. The beast riders, as you can see here, they are fast, and so what that means is they move 9 inches normally instead of 6, and on a charge or a rush action they will move 18, but we are just going to move them 9 inches straight up the board. So I'll move the wild riders just up there, and that's it for their turn. So it's on to the Stormcast turn, and the Stormcast are going to charge. They're going to move this unit and charge it into these here. So as you can see, both sets of units are in melee there, and you have to basically push them up as close as you can with the movement you have, and then units that are 2 inches away are the only ones that can fight. So none of this conga line crap that exists, or used to exist anyway. You basically, only the ones within 2 inches get to fight. So it's best to keep them in cohesion. And then in melee, the attackers, the charging unit, get to go first. Then the defending unit can strike back. Once you've attacked in melee for the first time though, units only hit on unmodified rolls of 6 in any subsequent melee. So basically what that means is if the Stormcast there have hit and the ogres have hit back, the other unit, like this guy here, he could charge into that unit, and then the ogres then would only be able to hit back on 6s. So it's best to try and plot out what you're doing first, basically. But let's get on with the rolls. So the Liberation Squad, as you can see here, they have hand weapons, so attacks 2, that's 2 each. So we have quite a few hits, and they have a quality of 3. So they then hit on 3+. But as you remember, the ogres, they have stone bones, so attacks targeting this model count as having AP -1, so they need 4+ on their dice. So we're going to be rolling a whopping 12 dice for the Stormcast. And they have got exactly 6 hits. So with the 6 hits, the ogres then get to roll, and they need 3+ because there's no armor penetration on the roll. So we have 2 misses, which means that 1 ogre has sadly perished. And another has 2 wounds. When determining wounds, you always go off the ones who have taken damage first. So there's no plagiarizing or whatever where you're going to get to the hero and then going to let the hero tank those wounds. No, it always goes onto the weakest, the ones who's taken wounds before. So because they are a collective unit, the other ogre would have taken the wounds, and then the other ogre there obviously takes the other one. And any more damage after that, that ogre will then take the rest of the wounds first, and then so on and so on until the hero's left on his own, basically. So the Iron Warriors are going to hit back. As you can see them here, they are going to hit back on 4 pluses, but they have 3 attacks each with AP 2 damage. So basically it means they get 6 attacks and they need 4 pluses. So we have our 6 dice. And we have caused 4 wounds. So as you can see, the Liberation Squad there, they have a defense of 3+, and they are tough 3. So they have 3 wounds each, which is quite nasty. But that defense is -2, so it's 5 pluses. So 2 wounds go through. That means one of them has 1 health remaining. So far, both units have caused 2 wounds, and it is best to mark with a D20 or something, whatever you want to. Mark it off next to the side because we will need it for morale in a little bit. But the Ogre War Chief still gets to attack. He has a quality of 3+, so that means he needs 3s. And he has himself a great weapon. So he gets 3 attacks with AP 4. Very nasty. So 3 pluses on the attack. So he gets his 3 dice to roll. He needs 3 pluses. And whatever happens on this basically goes through, because obviously they only have 3+ armor. And so whatever wounds this cause, just instantly break that armor with the AP 4. So yeah, whatever happens, any 3 pluses, they just go through, can't protect them. And he's done a pretty decent job there. He has caused 2 wounds. So yeah, one of them dies and another one is down a wound. So the Stormcast ended up losing that combat, and so they have to take a morale test, which is basically 1 dice roll against their quality. We know their quality is a 3+, so we just roll a dice. They've rolled a 6, so they are perfectly fine. They just move 1 inch back out of the combat. So the Ogres get to activate their last unit, and I've already worked out the distance. They can fire right at the general there, and so they're just going to try and blow him away. The shooters, as you can see just here, have a quality of 4+, 24-inch range, attacks 3, so that's 3 attacks each, so that's 9 dice, and 4 pluses. That's all they need, with AP 1. So we take our 9 dice and we roll. So the roll wasn't that good. We only got 4 hits there. So let's see what damage it does. So the Eternal Lord, he has a defense of 3+. He is tough 6 with the Drake he's on. So he's got 6 wounds. So yeah, he just rolls these 4 dice, which are -1. So he needs 4 pluses. So he takes 2 wounds and he's down now to 4. So the Stormcast, I've just activated that unit right there, just move them 6 inches to try and protect the archers from the obvious charge from these. Other than that, the Stormcast, because the Ogres have no units left to activate, the Stormcast get to activate again. So the Celestial Lord, or whatever he is, he's going to charge into these down here. So we have moved them around so as basically we can get into combat. It doesn't matter in this game, it's quite abstract really. It's not rank and file or anything like that, so there's no flanks or anything, you just move them into combat just as is. And then it means the Star-Lord's going to have a boatload of attacks because you've got the Drake to attack as well. But the Ogres are only hitting on 6 pluses because they've already had a melee this round. As soon as someone mounted charges in, if they have impact hits, they cause so many wounds basically. They don't have to roll through them, they just cause them. And on his Drake, he causes 3 wounds impact. So the Ogres have a straight up got to roll 3 dice with 3+ saves because they still get their armor saves. So they lost 1, and that is just a straight up wound straight down. Cavalry are deadly in this game. The Eternal Lord, though, is a bit of a beast in combat. He gets quality +3, so he needs 3 pluses on his roll. He gets Furious, which means he adds +1 dice, and he gets a great weapon, so that is basically 4 dice normally, 5 with a Furious, and he gets AP 3 on them as well. So it would be 6 up saves for the Ogres, depending on what goes through. And then we're not done, because the Drake is then going to go. As you can see here, the Great Drake gets 3 claws with AP 1, and it also gets Fire Breath, which is basically in combat 3 attacks at AP 1, so he gets 6 attacks, and the hero obviously gets 5. I'm going to roll the 6 of the Drake first, and they need 3 pluses to hit. So that's basically all of them. Then we'll roll the 5 here. And he gets 3 of them. So we need to work this out now. Quickly forgetting that the -1 is in play, so it would be 4 pluses. So the Drake has only hit with 4. So I need to calculate that one straight away. So what we basically get is 4 at 4+ and 3 at 6+. So in total, 4 wounds went through to the squad. So basically, that has killed the Ogres. And then we change the amount of damage total to 5. So the War Chief gets 3 dice on 6 pluses. Causes 1 wound. That is indefensible. So it just goes through. So he's down to 3 wounds. The Ogres, though, have lost the melee. So they have to do a quality check. And that is a massive fail. So because he's failed, this just moves 1 inch backwards. And then him here is wavering. So what I do is basically, because I've used these from Saga, and then double-sided, I just flip it over for wavering ones, and you place it next to the unit. Basically means that for this round, the next one, he cannot activate, and if someone charges at him, he hits only on 6s. So he's basically done for a round, but after the next round, he will recover, basically. So round 1 is done, and all you do then is collect your activation tokens, except for ones that are wavering. And then the ogres, because they finished activating first, they are the ones with the least amount of units. They get to then activate first. Now I need to wrap this demo game up because I've got to go and fetch my son from school. But I hope that this gives you a taste of how the game plays and shows you, like I said, this was never intended to be a full-on how to play or even a playthrough video. It was just basically a little demo, little teaser of how it plays. What the ogres will struggle with him and be able to activate is basically they can charge into him, and the ogres who would go first then have tough choices to make. See, the ogres here want to charge and cause impact hits, so they would really want to go for them and then take out those at the back. But they also have this guy here to worry about, because if they charge them, they are on 6s, so he could technically go into the side of them if they did well, or he could literally just charge straight into here. Or if the ogres activated first and shot him, maybe potentially killed him, they could kill him, then the guys here would suffer the charge from those, and those could realistically take out, well, not take them out fully, but really put a dent in them. I think if I personally would go for that, I would try and shoot him first, then they'd probably charge him, or they'd charge them. They'd charge them most likely, a good player would do that. And then hope that you don't lose too many. And then basically, once the combat's done, move back. You've tried to create as many wounds as them as you can. You can then, with the ogres, either go into them and cause impact hits, because that's the only thing you'd be wounding on. You'd be hitting on 6s after that, and then you'd struggle with the archers that are going to fire at you. Yeah, it'd be interesting. Very, very interesting for the second round. But unfortunately, I have to end it there. It's run too long, I'm afraid. I've been here already for an hour and a half just getting the first round done because I'm filming. If I was just to play this game normally, this wouldn't take long at all. I could probably get this done in around about half an hour, 45 minutes. But filming, cameras, lights, and making sure your narration is done properly takes full effect, I'm afraid, and so time doubles. That's it for this video though. I've showed you the demo game, I've showed you how to get started. Hopefully with this game, it is tremendous. I love it. I love Grimdark Future, and I love Age of Fantasy, and I'd love to give Age of Fantasy Regiments a go also. Brilliant game systems. The man has done a fantastic job. Can't recommend it enough. Please, please, check it out for yourselves and play something other, something different that's free. Thanks for watching.